All right, everyone. Gosh. I really have got to go through my makeup. Hello, everyone. I have been reading and replying to comments on today's video. You guys are really excited for this new series. And I'm excited that you guys are excited because this is something that I've wanted to bring to my channel for a super long time and haven't. And I always knew that the Jodi Arias Travis Alexander case was going to be the first one, simply because I've read now 4 books that are based around the case. I have read Juan Martinez's perspective. He was the prosecutor for the state. I've also read Curt Nurmi. He was the defense attorney for Jodi Arias, which I didn't really get into this in the video, but if you research the case, Jodi Arias actually filed a suit against Curt Nurmi in 2015. She also has filed over 4 appeals that I know of to try to get her case overturned. Because to this day, she still sticks to the fact that it was self-defense. She also is still in Nevada in a prison. So I just wanted to touch on a few things that I either A, edited out of the video just because it was already super long and I didn't want to go too long. I don't know. I feel like true crime videos that are more than 45 minutes are a waste because most people don't watch more than 45-minute long videos. But if you guys are into a hour-long to hour-and-a-half-long true crime video, they can definitely be that. I had almost 2.5 hours worth of footage on this Jodi Arias one, and I ended up cutting out some clips that I had of Curt Nurmi talking about his experience with Jodi Arias. He wrote a tell-all book, which, like I said, I've read. It is very telling. She was very manipulative to Curt Nurmi and would call him around the clock, would say really fucked shit to his wife, like just all the shit. He wrote a book about it, and Jodi Arias filed a suit in 2015 against him because of the book. But Juan Martinez also wrote a book about Jodi Arias. I've listened to it on Audible. I actually like Juan Martinez's better, and the reason I do is because it's more based on the case and not so much of just their relationship, because Juan Martinez didn't really have much of a relationship with Jodi Arias. It was more the lead detective who had a relationship with Jodi Arias, and that relationship was very odd as well. He has even said that Jodi tried to sexualize him and tried to make inappropriate comments to him as well. So the case is very compelling. It is compelling because of the way that Jodi behaves to anybody. She behaves this way to men and women, and she uses her sexual expression to try to get what she wants. I've watched over 50 interviews of Jodi Arias, and I have watched all 6 months worth of the court case. Chris can even testify to that. I would literally lay in bed for months and watch every single day of the court hearing. And the court hearing alone is a lot because they go into extreme detail of Travis and Jodi's relationship, and it was a whirlwind of just sex. It was over 82,000 emails were exchanged. There were over 100,000 text messages. I think it was around 400 and something thousand phone calls, like insane. But emails, 82,000 emails. I don't think I've ever sent anyone more than like 15 emails. And I think that would be like tops, like 15 emails. They sent one another 82,000 in the year and a half, 2 years that they knew one another. But Jodi started recording their phone call conversations in early March 2008. And I didn't mention this in the video. I did mention that she had recorded phone call conversations, but I did not mention the specific date. So from March 2008 until literally June 2nd, because Jodi would kill Travis Alexander on June the 4th of 2008, there were phone call conversations recorded. And there are conversations where she shares, they have this sexual conversation, and Travis says that he wants to tie her to a tree and have sex with her. And I didn't go into detail in this in the video, and I've already had a few comments on Twitter about it, and I just want to say why. It is physically impossible. In Jodi's story, she claims that all of this happened in a split second, that she dropped Travis's camera. He comes out of the shower, body slams her, and then they start to chase, and she, in self-defense, stabs Travis 27 times, slits his throat, grabs a gun at the top of his closet, and shoots him in the head. This is impossible because the knife that Travis was killed with was part of his collection from his kitchen. Meaning that if all of this happened in a split second, there is absolutely no way that Jodi had time to go down to the kitchen and grab the knife. However, in court documents, there was also rope found in Travis Alexander's bedroom. And apparently, Jodi claimed that the knife was already in the bedroom. As part of one of their sex acts, Travis tied her up, and they used the knife to cut the rope off of Jodi. Now, I've also read in, I think it was Kurt Nurmi's book, that Jodi would eventually confess to Kurt Nurmi that it was her idea to have the tied up sex. That was Jodi's idea. So even still, it's still premeditated. But I did just want to put that in here after going through my notes. It is in a court document, and I think that it's page 649. If you want to read the court documents, they're public record. Page 649 is where they go into detail of the night of the murder. And 649 is basically all about their sexual activity from June 4th, 2008. But still yet, it was still premeditated. When you talk about the gas cans in general, which this is another thing a lot of people didn't know about, and you're really only going to know about it unless you watch the case or you've read Juan Martinez's book about the case, because this wasn't spoke about on the news. All the news cared about was the sex and the actual murder itself. So if you look up any news clips on this case, you're not going to find this information. But I believe it's day 22 in the court case. I believe. I will put in the comments, I will tell you guys the exact date it was that they had the Walmart logger in court. But she ended up getting 3 gas cans from Daryl Brewer, which he would testify that she left with those gas cans. He lives in Southern California. And then she would stop in Nevada, visiting friends in Nevada. She would stop in Nevada, and she would buy 3 more gas cans from a Walmart, a local Walmart. They called that Walmart logger, and they pulled, Juan Martinez pulled the logs of 6 other Walmarts to see if any gas can was recorded, because she claimed she threw the receipt away. So he looked at all other Walmarts in the area to see if possibly she returned the gas can to another Walmart. There was no gas cans. The reason why Jodi did this is so that she wouldn't be detected in Arizona. I already mentioned this in the video. That's common sense. It goes without saying. But a lot of people on Twitter weren't aware of that situation. And that's because if you didn't watch the hearing, you wouldn't know that. It wasn't mentioned anywhere. But yes, she had 6 gas cans in the car. Daryl Brewer would never get his gas cans back, obviously because she was arrested in early July. The murder happened in early June. So she was never able to go back to Daryl Brewer's house and give him the gas cans. And the other 3 gas cans were discarded with a gun in somewhere along her road trip to Utah to go see Ryan Burns. Now, another thing that I wanted to mention that I also cut out of today's video was Travis Alexander's very first girlfriend. She was a big character witness on the prosecution, and I cut her out of today's video simply because her character witness did not have much to say about Jodi, especially when you consider what was said about, I can't remember her damn name, but it was Travis's girlfriend directly after Jodi. In comparison to her and Mimi's testimony, there really wasn't much to say aside from Travis's sexual desires. He and this girl both had sex. They lost their virginities to one another. And that was part of the testimony that the defense pulled out of her. Obviously, the prosecutor did not bring it up, but the defense did. And she did say that they did go to the church. Now, this is another part that's important because the whole time that Travis and Jodi were in a relationship or sexual ship, whatever, together, Travis kept going to Jodi and saying, you know, I can't sleep at night. You know, I can't live with myself because of this law of chastity, and I've broken it again. And that is something that Jodi held over Travis's head, and she played that card a lot because she knew that Travis was weak when it came to sex. And that was one thing that if you did, it automatically cut you out from being Travis's wife. It wasn't the idea he had in his head. His idea was to have, you know, this virgin Mormon girl, and Jodi just wasn't that. She just wasn't. Literally the day he baptizes her, they fondle around with one another. So she already missed that. But his first girlfriend would say that they did lose their virginities to one another, but they did go to the church and repent for that. And they ended up having to do a lot of stuff to get back good with the church. And she said that she would eventually go on a missionary trip, basically is what it is, where you would be gone for a year or more. And most of the time you would either be in another state or in another country. And she would go to another country. And during this missionary trip, that is when her and Travis would break up. But they always remained very close friends. They had Napoleon, which was Travis's dog, that they shared dog rights to. And she would still see Travis all the time. They remained very close friends. And when he met Jodi, he introduced Jodi to her, and Jodi was always jealous of this girl because Travis compared, which you do that with your first love, every person thereafter will always be compared to that first person that you loved. That's just the way it is. That is just the way love works. You know, you're always saying, well, you know, this person did this for me, but this person doesn't. Wonder why. You know, you're always kind of doing that back and forth. And Travis would do that, and he would bring her up a lot, and Jodi hated that. Now, there are a lot of different conspiracy theories as why Jodi did what she did. Obviously, I don't think we're ever going to find out the true reason. I think that Jodi's always going to stick to what she stuck to. And if you've watched the hearing, another thing that I'm getting a lot of comments on is why I did not bring up the pedophilia. Simply because it's a fucking lie, okay? There is no evidence and there is no proof that Travis Alexander was ever a pedophile. I think that Jodi did not like being shown in the light of a murderer and a vicious killer. And so she was grasping at straws, as she likes to say in all her interviews, and pulling whatever she could out of literal thin air. And that's the reason why I didn't bring it up in the video. It wasn't edited out. I didn't fucking mention it because it's disgusting. And what she did to Travis Alexander, killing him literally a fourth time or a third time, well, no, fourth time, because she stabbed him 27 times, literally decapitated him, shot him in the head, and then called him a pedophile and a woman beater on stand for over 6 months. I'm sorry, there is no proof. The photo that she claims that he looked at and masturbated to was never found. It was never recovered. Sure, he made a t-shirt for Jodi that said Travis Alexander's. I did show that in the video. I don't find that odd. I mean, whatever. You can make what you want out of that, but how do we know that Jodi didn't make that shit? You know what I'm saying? We don't know that he made her wear that shirt. So yeah, that is the reason why. Apparently there's a lot of people on Twitter who back Jodi up and believe her bullshit. Because when I posted the video and people, I guess, clicked the link and went and watched, they were like, well, why didn't you mention that he was a pedophile and blah, blah, blah. We have literal no proof because Travis is not here and Travis cannot defend himself. And I'm not going to mention something that I truly feel was made up and pulled out of thin air. I mentioned the root of the case, which is the premise of self-defense. That is what I brought up. I do not believe it at all. I definitely believe it was premeditated. The gas cans alone paint the picture of premeditation, and the prosecutor mentioned that all throughout the hearing. If you really study this case, you read the books on the case, and you study Jodi's past relationships, she's always been in relationships, but she's been used to being the one who's she's used to being the one that they want. She's never the one that's broken up with. She's always the one that breaks up with them. And this was the one time that she was broken up with, and I think that that triggered something in her mind. And if you study the case, then you know the girl that Travis was with right after Jodi, he had 3 big trips planned while he was in a relationship with her, and he took Jodi on those trips. It wasn't until he met Mimi and he told everyone, even wrote in his journal that that was the woman he was going to marry. That is the first woman he invited somewhere with him, aside from Jodi. Up until her, Jodi was the only one to travel with Travis. I think the fact of Travis like actually being in love with someone else and taking her on a trip, I don't think Jodi wanted that to happen. And I think it was brought up the night of June 4th, 2008. I think that Travis admitted to Jodi that he was taking Mimi to Mexico, and I think she snapped. Now, I think that she was going there with the intentions because it has been said that Jodi had found out through friends that Travis was bringing Mimi to Mexico. So I do think that Jodi left with the premise of murdering Travis, but I think that Jodi brought it up on June 4th and was going to give him the option to take Jodi instead, and he did not. He declined, and that is what led Jodi to then commit the crime. Jodi is a big narcissist. I actually have a friend who is big into true crime, and she has written letters as a pen pal to Jodi Arias. And she's very manipulative with her words. She's very smart. Now, this is something that you cannot take away from her. She is very intelligent. She knows how to speak to someone. My friend is a man, and I told him very early on, because I've studied this case since college, and I mean, studied it. We had to write a full paper, 20-page paper on a case of our choosing, and I chose this one. So I know the insides and outs of this case, and if you study it, Jodi has a way with her words, and I think that she's very smart in the way that she controls men. I think that she knows exactly what to say. Now, I also think that her being in prison has messed up her capabilities a little bit, because I do think online searches is the way that she was figuring things out about men that she would talk to before prison. But yeah, she said some very, very, very sexual things to my friend, and he stopped writing her. But yeah, that is my opinion on the whole situation. A lot of people find it hard to understand why she murdered Travis, because they were still talking, they were still having phone sex, they were, still seeing one another. The only thing that changed is he was going on a trip with another woman. And I think that that's all it took for Jodi. I really do. I think that's all it took. I think she knew that Travis was never going to pick her. And I think that that's finally what led her to snap. But yeah, I'm glad you guys did enjoy it. And I'm sorry that I did. Well, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry that I cut the pedophilia bullshit out, because I don't agree with it. And that's the thing. Like, when it's something, you've got a murderer who has literally no sympathy, no empathy, and they're in court, claiming, that all of a sudden, first it was masked ninjas, and now all of a sudden, no, actually it was self-defense, and this is the reason why. I'm sorry. That's just not the truth. And she knows it's not the truth. All of these recorded phone call conversations and stuff, and never once did she bring up the physical abuse. I'm sorry, but I think that if that was an issue that they had, I think that that would be something that, she would bring up on the phone. Like, well, if I come see you, are you going to put your fucking hands on me? It'd be something that I would bring up anyways, and I think most women would. So, yeah, I'm not buying it. Let's see, what's it say? Great new series, and cutting the ped from the video totally makes sense. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to talk about it. There's no reason to talk about it. I mean, that, what was it, CNN or whatever? I can't remember. The guy that was a literal savage who interviewed her, like he said, like, she drug him through the mud. She killed him a fourth time when she tried to ruin his reputation. But nobody believed that shit. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are some people who totally believe Jodi's story. And she does have a lot of people on her side. I mean, that's just like Charles Manson followers and people like that. Like, there's just people who, like, get off on someone committing crimes like that. I mean, I could never understand why, but they are out there. And apparently, like, she's done paintings and all kinds of shit, and like, people have bought her paintings for like loads of money, all kinds of shit. So Jodi Arias is doing just fucking fine, which is really sad, because if you've watched the court hearings, which if you are into true crime and you're looking for something new to watch on YouTube, I definitely recommend watching the trial. When it comes to Travis's body, though, they do not show it. They do show the one that I show in my video, the one of him laying on the floor, that Jodi accidentally took with the camera. They show that one, but I do just want to repeat, if you look up online his actual body, the photos taken by medical examiner, Brian Horn, he was the medical examiner, I would definitely move forward with caution. It gave me nightmares for like 4 days. I'm not even gonna, I mean, it is that bad. So I would definitely proceed with caution on looking at that, because it is intense, to say the least. What she did to him is just, I'm sorry, that's not self-defense. That's just not self-defense. I can't believe that there's even people who believe that that was fucking self-defense. The fact that I have people on my Twitter saying, oh, it was self-defense. How do you not get self-defense? Bitch, that is not self-defense. I'm sorry, it's just not. Self-defense is like getting the person down. You know what I'm saying? Like, self-defense is like shooting somebody in the leg, in the foot, in their calf. You know what I'm saying? Like, just getting them down to where they can't hurt you. Self-defense is not, you know, stabbing someone in the back 27 times. I mean, he had defense wounds under his fingers, like in his hands, like even in his ankles, his feet. Like, this bit, it was overkill. And then she slits him from ear to ear, which that photo is online too. And like I said, if you are interested in this stuff, I can get being curious. I'm just saying, out of all of the crime scene images that I've seen and all of the medical examiner photos that I've seen from cases, this is the worst. And I mean what I say. You also have to keep in mind that his body was left in the home for like 4 days, 5 days actually, until Mimi and his friends would actually call the police and find his body. So just keep that in mind when you go look at it. But it was literal overkill, and then shot him in the head with a 25 caliber bullet. I mean, this was she was angry. Like, this was a fit of rage, like premeditated rage. I mean, the bitch even showed up with different color hair. I mean, get the fuck out of here. Like, there's just, anyways, I'm very curious to know what you guys want me to cover next, or who you want me to cover next. I will say that I'm not going to cover JonBenét Ramsey. I covered the JonBenét Ramsey, Hey Brianna, documentary on my Beauty and Documentary Breakdown. I covered it probably close to a year ago, and I gave my full thoughts on the JonBenét case then. I still think that her brother committed the crime. I think that he pushed her down the stairs. I think that all of that was her brother. I think that her brother killed her. And there's been a lot of people say that her brother had bad anger issues, and there was just a lot wrong with him as a child. And I've always thought that. And I think that the reason why the parents never said anything to police is because they had already lost one child and they didn't want to lose both. And I think that that is what happened with JonBenét. I think that that's why Patsy Ramsey allegedly wrote the ransom letter, is because, you know, they knew that their son had did it. And yeah, my thoughts are still the same on that. You know, they're still the same. I think that that's the reason why they never caught the killer, because the killer was in the home. There was no other DNA to be found. And obviously they're not going to test the semen of a child, or they didn't in the early 90s. So I think that that is the reason why all of this is. And a lot of people believe that theory as well. I think it's very easy to think the mom and dad committed the murder. I think the mom and dad tried to cover up the murder. I think they knew who committed the murder, and, you know, they didn't want to lose both of their kids. So they decided to protect their son, and that's why JonBenét's murder has never been solved. There was also a murder committed here in my hometown, less than 2 miles away from my house. I can't remember her name. She went to Central High School, though, and her boyfriend actually murdered her. She had broken up with him, and he snuck into her house in the middle of the night and murdered her. That is another case that I know that I'm going to cover. Natalee Holloway is another one that I'm going to cover, and the reason I'm going to cover Natalee Holloway is my cousin went to school with her, and I'm very familiar with that case just because my cousin was on that trip when Natalee Holloway went missing. In my heart of hearts, I believe that Natalee is dead. I do believe that Vaughn killed her. I believe that he led her to... I have thought back and forth on two scenarios for years since it happened. The first of which is sex trafficking, because it is huge down there in Aruba. Aruba is one of the sex trafficking capitals of the world. I either think that A, he took her to someone who ran a sex trafficking ring, and he was looking for someone with blonde hair, blue eyes, and Natalee thought that Vaughn was very attractive, And when he seen that she had blonde hair, blue eyes, I think he was getting paid an amount of money to take her to someone that ran a sex trafficking ring in Aruba. That's A. Or B, I think that she was taken advantage of, SA, and I think that her life was taken from her. Those are the two different scenarios. But Vaughn did murder someone. I think it was in Africa about 5 or 6 years after Natalie's disappearance. So, you know, he's never going to tell what happened with Natalie, which is unfortunate. And I feel for her parents. It ruined, you know, their marriage ended after that. And it's just been a shit show ever since. So, that is another one that I want to cover because I do think it's important for people to continue to talk about Natalie Holloway, just in case she is still out there. I mean, it's been a long time. She would be, you know, in her mid-30s at this point, but, you know, I do still think that it's super important that we talk about Natalie, just in case she is still out there and someone sees her. But if there are any cases that you do want me to talk about, they don't have to be huge cases. They can be smaller ones. They can be from other countries. They can be whatever you guys want. I just need them by the Saturday before that following Thursday. So every Saturday is when I need your admissions by, to my regular email, questionsforshay, at Gmail. That way I can do the research on them before I film it, because I've been filming on Mondays and editing all day Tuesday and Wednesday and uploading Thursdays. So just let me know. Just know that true crime videos are a lot of hard work. So if you don't always get 2 videos a week, that's going to be why, especially after May, because my podcast will start in May. So I'll definitely have to record a podcast every week. So just keep that in mind, you guys. True crime videos are a lot of hard work. A lot. You have to get the details right. You have to, you know, photos and different clips from the news and different stuff like that to make it a really good true crime video. But anyways, guys, I just wanted to come on and say hello. I will not be live tomorrow because I'm going to be working tomorrow night. So I will not be live tomorrow night, but I will be live on Saturday and Sunday. So I will see you guys then. I hope you guys have a fantastic Friday. And yeah, I will see you guys again on Saturday. Bye.